Lay.
Peace and Suede Sneaks, everybody. It's Malcolm Jassim, a.k.a. Wolf of Wall Sneak, brand architect behind Project Wall Sneak and editor-in-chief of the Wall Sneak Journal. Today's video is very special. This is the inaugural segment of Between the Laces, which is an interview series with movers, shakers, and unsung heroes in the footwear industry and adjacent creative industries, focused on telling their stories. Today's guest, very important guest, not only to the area that is the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, but to sneakers, right, to product, and to really like all things cool for real. Like if we're talking about like this area in particular, he's a pioneer that a lot of people I feel like don't know enough of. And without further introduction, I'm talking about the product director of DTLR, Mr. June Sanders.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it. MJ, how you doing, bro?
Hey, man, I can't complain, brother. It's good to see you.
How you doing, man? I appreciate you inviting me, to be a guest on your show. So much appreciated.
Yes, sir. And this is in collaboration with the Washington Informer Bridge.
The Informer.
Informer, man.
Shout out to Lafayette.
Yes, sir. Making sure that this area stays informed and abreast to many different news topics and subject matter that's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think without further ado, man, I would love to cover some of your story, man, because, like I said, this is about the movers and shakers and unsung heroes in the footwear industries and creative industries. And, there are many of us who do know you. I have the pleasure of getting to know you.
For sure.
But, there are our peers and other people in the industry who may not know some of the, some of your journey, whether it's, from a personal or professional level. So that's what we're here to talk about, man.
Sure. Yeah. That's big.
Yes, sir.
That's big.
So what I right off the bat, like I thought it was cool that, me and you kind of off the rip, share some similarities when it comes to, like many of us in the area being born in DC and raised in Maryland, right? And so I'll ask you, because I have my own, views about what I like about my hometown, but what do you like most about the DMV area?
It's kind of funny because, like most people know, and I'll reiterate this, I was born in Washington, D.C. I moved from D.C. to Maryland when I was like in the second grade. So all I actually know is Maryland because I grew up in Suitland, which is probably 15 minutes from Southeast, the part of Southeast that I grew up in when I was young. So all I know is the Maryland, but I, spent my adult party life in D.C. So just like many other people, there's nowhere to party in Maryland. So we partied in D.C. So that got me to knowing a little bit more about, me being from there. Yeah, I don't see anything that stands out. I just know where I'm from, what schools I've been to, and I had friends that lived in D.C. But most of my friends was in Maryland at the time. So, yeah.
What did you love most about growing up? I know for me, similar. Like I spent most of my like childhood and adolescence in Maryland, going to school in DC, ironically, at the same time. But I know for me, like one of my childhood memories was like riding my bike to the carryout.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And like, I'm like getting the wings. And I remember like, like wings and mambo sauce and fries were good, but I would actually go to this carryout to get like their burgers. Like, I would like come back.
I don't know about the burgers and the...
You know what I mean? So what are maybe one of your fondest memories growing up?
I remember because being in Suitland, I didn't have a car at the time when I was young, and I used to catch the P12. I remember the P12. I used to hang up Iverson Mall, that whole area back in the days.
Marlow Heights.
Yeah, Marlow Heights. I used to hang up there. And I remember taking a bus from there all the way to, I want to say it went to Southern Avenue, I believe. I did the whole route. I had to date girls, had to jump on the bus. Mm-hmm. It wasn't fun, but that's part of the character and building you and understanding where you at and understanding your surroundings. And to the point growing up to get a car and being able to be like, oh yeah, I remember I used to catch the bus over here. Now I know how to get there in the car. But growing up in Suitland, I ended up going to Forestville High School, which was like, I'm like, yo, I'm right down the street from Suitland. Why can't zoning? Zoning. So being in Forestville, it was kind of hood over there. I ain't gonna lie. Growing up with all them dudes.
Special.
Yeah. It was special. So I remember the time I used to when I missed the bus and I had to walk home. Walking through them neighborhoods wasn't fun.
Taking a little bit of risk.
Yeah. It was kind of risky a few times, but we made it through.
Shout out to the CFE. I remember that over there in Sportsville too.
Oh man, yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. But yeah, the bus route, it was cool. I didn't have, I tried to stay away from drama as much as I could. You know what I'm saying? We all got in trouble at doing something that we wasn't supposed to, and being in those areas. You couldn't help it because it's constantly being shared to you in one form or fashion, right?
Yeah.
You just gotta be smart enough what to do and what not to do, and hopefully you get out unscathed.
Yeah, I hear that. Speaking of which, what was your family life or your upbringing like growing up in Suitland? Maybe even like what did you like aspire to be when you were like a child?
It's funny. So my parents are still living. I have a brother, have a brother and a sister. We all grew up in the same household. My parents was only 18 years older than me, so it's kind of funny. I didn't know that back then. I felt like my parents was old as hell. When I was young, I'm like, damn, they old as hell, but they really wasn't. They did the best. I'm the oldest out of the three. Then it's my brother, and it's my sister. We all 3 years apart. It was real cool. My father was just trying to work, trying to make a living for us. But then as a child, my mom was an entrepreneur. She did hair for a living. So I saw her every day because she did hair in the house. With my dad, he went out and worked. So I saw that, but from a standpoint, what I wanted to do as a child, I really wanted to be an MC. And this was I was 13, 14 years old. So this before it was cool. Rapping at 13, 14 back in that time in the 80s wasn't cool. So I did that for a while because growing up, I used to catch the P12 to go to the studio, catch the studio and hang out. I used to hang out with this guy named Rich Nice. Shout out to Rich. I don't know if anybody know him, but Rich is a special guy from the area, super talented, got a bunch of hits on his belt. So I hung out with him and his crew. And then as time went along, I just felt like maybe I shouldn't be rapping. I'm like 24, 25 at the time. I'm like, yo, I might be getting too old for this. Just being more self-aware.
Yeah.
But in between that, I really enjoyed the fashion part of it. I was like, yeah, maybe I should just jump into doing fashion. I went to school to be an architect, Merlin Drafter Institute in Langley Park, but I dropped out. It just felt like it wasn't for me, at the time. But it led me into the fashion part, which led me into doing what I do today.
That's right. What's up, man? Shout out to the paths we take.
The paths we take, that one wrong turn, you could be somewhere else totally different.
Yeah. But it's like, I think to that point, especially when we're young in our youth, it's important to explore, you know what I mean? Because then sure. Maybe even, and I heard somebody say like, it's important because you know what you like, but you also know what you don't like, or what
Sure.
what you don't gravitate towards. So,
Absolutely.
And kind of in that same vein, of course we know, but a lot of people know, a lot of people watching this don't know about the streetwear history of our area, right? And so what was it like growing up like in the moment, right? Because I'm a 90s baby, so I was a bit removed from it, but I caught the tail end of it. What was it like growing up in the moment with those streetwear brands like Universal Madness, We Are One, Hobo, Bonadachi, like
that was a time.
Yeah.
But that was all was all like in the 90s. That was still in the 90s. And earlier in the stage, Madness was probably the first one that really kicked off streetwear for every hood in America, that we know of, right? And from there sprouted many other brands. We had like 40 different streetwear brands between Maryland, DC, Virginia, Baltimore, right? And so, for me, I was attached to Abstract Sports at the time because my cousin was friends with Darwin and his brother Kevin, and I hung up there a whole lot. And for those who don't know, Abstract Sports was on Central Avenue in Maryland, and that's where I really sharpened my focus and skills for understanding fashion, because I did work in retail, but it's different when you learn it on the streets. Way different. So you get both perspectives. You get retail store perspective on what they're going to tell you, but the street's not going to lie. They're going to tell you exactly what it is, right? Yeah. And so learning through that, I started hand drawing all of their designs just to, I didn't know how to use a computer at the time, but I did so many designs and they would put it out. And that fuel right there was like, oh, you could really make money doing this. Even though I tried to do it prior, when I was a teenager, but learning and seeing it in a real retail store, you beside Iceberg, Moschino, Versace, it's like, oh yeah, this is the wave right here. It's the wave. So I give a shout out to those brothers for giving me a chance and really learning and being around them, at the time. So I think during that time period, I met everybody from John from Hobo, Rob from Shooters, Marlon from Aja Armani. Those are my guys. Everybody, and then and then learning from that, went into my next thing, which was creating, the Lux Tea thing, which that took a wave on its own to be able to give back to those guys, in a way, for them to use the product to increase their quality.
Kind of like full circle.
Full circle, absolutely.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful, man. And you would say like what you learned most about from that environment was the skill set, right? Sharpening that skill set that you then applied to
for
what
sure.
you built next.
For sure.
That's important. That's important. I'm gonna pivot and say, kind of looking back, right? When you look at the scope of this area, what do you feel like has changed the most over the past 20 years or so?
I feel like everything has changed. I mean, the streets, the buildings, just everything. I mean, when you put certain people in charge, they're gonna make the change, right? Mm-hmm. And hopefully, you got a lot more entrepreneurs today. We have the internet today. We have a lot more savviness today. Stuff is moving 10 times faster than it was back then. Because back then you had to research however you could. People were tight with information, whether it's dealing with factories, printing shops and things like that. People wanted to hold stuff close to their vest. They didn't want to give out the information. But now you could just scroll and you can find it at the scroll, which is very good for the kids today. They don't understand what it took to take it, from start to scratch, because now they could just call somebody and just do everything at once. It wasn't like that back in the days. Yeah. It wasn't. So I think it's a lot has changed from, the visual aspect of the street scene. The things are self-adjusting, for the positive, I would say, for the positive. So
that's good. I think it's kind of in alignment with what one of my mentors, Dwayne Edwards, said. He was like, yeah, like when I was growing up, man, we had to use encyclopedia. You know what I mean? Like we had to go to the library. We had
that's real talk.
Yeah, like the access to the technology. But I think you mentioned a point about kind of like I'll dovetail it by saying I saw something, an artist actually the other day say something about this concept of gatekeeping, right?
Absolutely.
And how he was saying that, from his perspective, gatekeeping is about not necessarily keeping people out, but determining who gets in.
Absolutely.
I
think every industry is like that. It's still industries like that to this day. Certain information that might not be as, readily out there, but I think some people, it might not just be the information. Like you might have a skill, right, that I know that you could help somebody in, but I might block that situation for, a personal reason, just to keep things separated. Because I think people do that to this day. Mm-hmm. I think it's, if you really wanted to truly help somebody from your heart, you could, because everybody needs help with something, right? It's just that I need to understand what pieces you're missing for whatever you're trying to build, and vice versa. We all need something from somebody. We just got to be willing to share.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, my brother told me growing up, he was like, yeah, self-made is a myth. What you mean? I see it in magazine covers and titles all over the place. Like
He ain't
nah,
lying. It's a myth.
myth, myth.
A lot of things we taught is a myth, you know? Everything. It's like, we have to do a lot more research and reading. And like I said, the people that's at the top, somebody helped put them at top.
Mm.
You know, they had to have enough skill, enough knowledge, but when people like you, they're willing to do more for you. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
So,
understood. It's about, not just your network, but your community, right?
absolutely.
Speaking of which, with DTLR headquartered in Baltimore, because I know obviously you're at DTLR, and they have a very strong presence in Baltimore as well.
Absolutely.
And I feel like you're the right person to ask this question. Can you confirm or deny whether Baltimore is in fact part of the DMV?
Baltimore is not part of the DMV, ladies and gentlemen. They
Yeah.
are not. They don't want to be a part of the DMV anyway, and it's cool. We like cousins. Y'all right up the block.
Mm-hmm.
DMV is that Northern Virginia, all of Maryland. That's not including Baltimore and the District of Columbia. That's what it is. There's a line somewhere, once you get past a certain part of Maryland, if you see a Baltimore sign, you gone too far.
Y'all heard it here first. Baltimore is its own thing. It's not
It's
part of the
definitely its
DMV.
own thing. I think everybody would agree with that.
Yeah, look, me too. We both got enough, enough connects, enough friends in Baltimore where they would certainly agree. Like, nah, we our own thing. Kind of going into the professional side of that, like, how do you feel about brands who consider the DMV a better or more productive market group than like DC, B-More, or VA alone? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they kind of market products or services, but we'll keep it in the realm of product. They'll market it to the region as opposed to these individual cities or municipalities or whatever themselves. Like, do you feel like, or how do you feel about that approach or that strategy?
I think the DMV area is a great melting pot for a lot of things, specifically fashion. I feel like we craft our own styles, and then eventually people jump onto them in one way or another, whether it's New Balance, the Gordon Nike boots, even Timberland. So I think that we have enough information to say these things. It's not opinion, it's fact. We got a lot of focus groups from different companies. They want to create focus groups based here. Not to say they don't do focus groups anywhere else, but they come here because they know that we like the center of what's going to help make them cool, and we're gonna stamp it. If we don't like it, it could be one of the type of things that could affect their whole company. It definitely could. Yeah. If you look at the New Balance wave, without the DMV area, New Balance wouldn't be as high. I promise you that.
No question.
It don't matter how many collabs they do outside of this area, it won't be the same.
No question. And for years I was screaming that to the mountaintops, and finally, I'm not gonna say I had any influence on it, but I like to see that our contributions are finally being nationally recognized.
Yeah, all of our voices are just as important. My voice ain't more important than yours or Lafayette. We all screaming the same thing. It's just we hold different positions, right? You're doing journalism. I'm in the creative thing, and Lafayette is printing the newspapers and getting the word out there on the streets to the community. So we all serve a purpose to deliver the same message. Hopefully it's all about the end user and how they want to receive the information, right? Because we all don't receive information the same way, So I think it's important. And, you as a journalist, keep screaming.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Yes, sir. I think, to that point, I would agree with you. I think that, this area is special. Like we're kind of like a gateway for the Mid-Atlantic region. Sure. That like others aren't. You know?
Absolutely.
And yeah, I would agree with it would serve in the best interest of companies to recognize it as such.